Hi everybody and welcome back to the KK Zone. As ever, I am Kara Kaufman and I don't know, I'm the kind of person that if you ask me do I prefer the good news or the bad news first, I always say the bad news, and I'm not sure if you feel the same way, but you're about to get the same treatment because we're going to go bad news first. To that end, Yankees began a series with the Tampa Bay Rays today, our arch rival, I would say. At this point, I think as a Yankees fan, if you are one too, if you're watching this, the Red Sox are the enemy, right? Like, we all grew up knowing we had to hate Boston because that's the rivalry, but these days it really feels like the Rays are the more pressing rival with more actual animus between the teams. Like, yeah, they don't like each other, and I want them to beat the Rays, and the problem is they haven't been doing that very much lately. Last season, the Rays absolutely owned the Yankees en route to a pretty easy win in the American League East. This year, well, I'm just hoping that's not the track we go down, but it was kind of the track we started on. So I'm going to go ahead and recap this. I think I can probably do it in fewer than 90 seconds, but we are about to find out. Ready, set, go. First game at Tropicana Field of the year for the Yankees, taking on the Rays. The first thing that happened was they had to endure watching the Rays raise the banners for their American League East championship last year, as well as their American League pennant, which, good on them, they earned that thing, but ugh, it sucks to stand and watch on the field when you lost to them. Bleh. Anyway, moving on to the actual game, Yankees got crushed, 10-5. It's not what you want. Yankees pitching staff had been so good today, not so great. But for me, what stood out the most actually was the poor defense. There was one half inning alone where DJ made an actual throwing error. Tyler Wade just whiffed on a ball that I feel like he should have gotten to, and Gleyber Torres missed a pop-up, mind you. That was in foul territory, and he had to run a long way to get it, and he almost died running across a stupid bullpen mound, which, why is that there, Tropicana Field? But anyway, it did not look crisp or sharp. The pitching did not look crisp or sharp. Ray's bats really smacked around Yankees pitching today, and that was not great. Corey Kluber wasn't his sharpest and wasn't helped by the defensive miscues. Nick Nelson had his first really bad outing of the year. Lucas Lucky did soak up a bunch of innings, which was cool to see, but also allowed a run. Luis Sessa only went with a clean inning. So Sessa gets the crown for today for pitching. On the hitting side, the good news was home runs by DJ LeMahieu and the struggling Aaron Hicks. So if Hicks's bat is really bouncing back, then I am loving that. That's a great sign. But on balance, the Yankees were pretty much dominated start to finish by the Rays. They had one big inning where they went from being behind to being ahead, and they gave it right back. And from then on, that was all she wrote. So that about sums it up. It was just a pretty unpleasant day at the ballpark for anyone wearing pinstripes. Rays absolutely dominated the Yankees, and I would love to see that not continue, but they're going to have to prove it. At this point, the Rays have all the confidence in the world against the Yankees. The Yankees are going to have to come out really slugging and try to get the better of them, and hopefully pitch a little sharper like they had been and clean up this defensive mess thing. I mean, I said that Gleyber missed a ball. He did, but that wasn't even that was a really hard ball to catch. The ones to Wade and LeMahieu were the ones that were surprising. We gotta keep it tight. It's early. It's turf. Everyone hates the Trop. The ceiling was clearly wreaking havoc on everybody, but I believe in these guys. I just don't want to see them get into a hole early against Tampa. So in any event, the loss today pushes the Yankees to a 3-4 record, which coincidentally is also Tampa's record. So they are tied for the middle of the division. Everyone's really clumped together. It's too early to worry about the standings. I'm just worrying about winning some games. Let's do that for a change. That'd be fun. But as promised, there's also good news. Let's move on to that. And actually, this is out of character, but the good news, some of the good news, comes in the form of a whiteboard of doom. Well, it's a good whiteboard day today, guys. First of all, we're going from 11 to 12. Yay! And also, and even more significantly perhaps, I'm going to erase somebody. That's right, Mr. Justin Wilson is coming off of the IL today, so that left shoulder inflammation has resolved itself. He's been throwing, he feels good, so one subtraction and no additions. Yay! A good day in Yankee land. Yeah, Justin Wilson came back. I mean, he didn't pitch today because why would he when we're losing? But that's great news if he can stay healthy and be effective. Super awesome. The only crumb of not so good news in this is that the Yankees were without both Aaron Judge and Gio Urshela today, but neither one of them makes the injured list. This Judge thing is an ongoing mystery. He's got soreness in his side. I think, as I detailed before, do we trust the Yankees and they tell us nothing? Not really, but by the same token, I'd rather they be careful, and we know that playing on the turf in Tampa is not great for him, so all I can do is hope he'll play at least one of the next 2 games, and we'll see him continue to match. He's been hitting so well so far. I want to see more of it. Gio, meanwhile, was a late scratch, but Don't worry, everybody. It was just because he was having some rough side effects from the COVID-19 vaccine, which I think many of us have been there. I know I have been there, so I am sure Gio will feel better, if not tomorrow, then soon thereafter. And now he's protected from COVID-19, which is by far the most important thing. So don't worry about Gio. He will be just fine. On which note, though, I have to say, when I was watching the broadcast the other night, on a Wednesday night, the Yankees the booth had on a doctor who was talking about the vaccines and sort of from a medical epidemiological perspective, why they're great, what they do, what said people who are hesitant about them. I thought this was incredible by the Yankees because, you know, there are a lot of people out there who are certainly anxious about taking these vaccines and who are reluctant to get them, which we really need everyone to do it if we're going to get society going back in the right direction post-pandemic. So I thought having a doctor on in the booth of a baseball game to explain why they're safe and why they're effective and why they're important was such a pro move. And then, even better surprise when I found out the next day that he was there because he was, in fact, vaccinating the Yankees. Now, they're not going to disclose who did and who didn't get vaccinated, nor should they, that's private, but we learned that the Yankees did pass the 85% threshold, which includes both players and core staff, that allows them to loosen up some of the restrictions once they're all 2 weeks past their vaccine. So that's great news, mostly because it means a lot of the guys got their shot. So that's fantastic. It makes us worry less about outbreaks like the ones that are happening, frankly, all over right now. So good job, guys, getting vaccinated. That was a real feel-good story for me today. And hopefully anybody who's feeling those after effects, like Gio, recovers swiftly and is just happy they're protected. The weirdest at-bat of the week today, I think, has to go to Michael Conforto of the Mets. Yep, it's the Mets. Something weird happening to them. Are we surprised? Not at all. So the Mets had their home opener against the Marlins, and it was going mediocrely for them. They were losing in the 9th inning, but then things happened. They loaded the bases, and then at bottom of the 9th, could they walk it off? Well, Michael Conforto, it turned out, could, kinda. So he had 2 strikes on him. I think the count was 2-2. And the pitcher, who was Bass for the Marlins, I just caught it. That's 2 fish. That's great. Anyway, Bass, the Marlin, threw what was a strike that hit the inside corner. And at first, the umpire went to punch him out, but he stopped mid-motion, gestured, "Oh, Conforto got hit. Go to first base," which of course resulted in the bases ever moving up a bag and it being a walk-off hit by pitch. What's crazy about this, so if you look at the replay, it's hardly obvious that Conforto got hit. He must have, because they reviewed to see that he did. He did. But what's really crazy is that that pitch was a strike. If you look at it, it is 100% in the strike zone. Conforto was kind of leaning in, tracking it, and lifted his elbow a little bit at the end to get nudged. So that is an insane way for a game to end. Frankly, I'm happy the Mets won. Good for the Mets, but it sucks for the Marlins, and I feel terrible for them. And that's all on the umpires. Because here's the crazy part. You can review whether or not he got hit. They reviewed it and saw that he did get hit, he got grazed. But what you cannot review is whether or not he was intentionally trying to get hit. And only the umpires in the field can call that. They have to, it's a judgment call. And so they have to be like, "No, buddy, that was a strike. You leaned in. If you get hit by a ball that's a pitch that's a strike, you're out." If it's the 3rd strike, which is would have been. So they didn't do that, which is unfortunate for the Marlins, fortunate for the Mets. But it was just, I was kind of watching it unfold, and I thought that is one of those things that you try to explain that to someone who doesn't watch baseball, they'd be like, "Your sport makes no sense." And that's why we love baseball. I think it's worth pointing out, after the pitching staff got kind of lit up today, that prior to this game, the Yankees pitching has been unbelievably good. Like, yeah, the Yankees only were 3-3 coming into the day, but they could easily have been 5-1. Those 2 extra inning games are eminently winnable, and of all the games they lost, not a single one was because the pitching was bad. In fact, the staff had a 1.74 ERA in those first 6 games, which is, I believe, the best in franchise history. That's an insanely low number, and they weren't playing the best offensive teams in the league, but yeah, the Toronto Blue Jays, no slouch with the bats. So ultimately, super encouraging. Today, not as much, but you know what? It's nice to look at the big picture. I mean, it's a small picture right now. It's only been 7 games, but the entirety of the admittedly small picture, which is that prior to today, Yankees pitchers have been nailing it. So hopefully they'll go right back to that tomorrow. Okay, I think I am done with this disappointing Friday update, but we got a weekend of 2 more Rays games, and we got some time to get some revenge. I mean, they gotta win. This has been a problem for 2 seasons straight, and we gotta resolve it right now before it gets out of hand. So before we head into the weekend, we'll have to wrap up today with a baseball haiku. Pitching and defense were not at their best today. The Trop strikes again. Yeah, the Yankees have played really poorly in Tampa the past several seasons. Admittedly, it's kind of a rough ballpark, and if you're not used to the dome, it can really mess you up on defense. So there are some mitigating factors there, but like they're gonna play a bunch, 9 or 10 games a year there. They're gonna have to figure that out. And if someone knew a little something about getting revenge on your enemies, it was Willie Shakespeare. And in Coriolanus, he wrote, "Let us revenge this with our pikes ere we become rakes." Yeah, all of that. Get back at the Rays. They beat you last season in the division. They beat you last season in the playoffs. They beat you today in their ballpark. And you know what? Tomorrow's a new day. And as they say, as long as you have a bat in your hand, you can rewrite the story. And they have 2 more games this weekend in which to rewrite it and get that revenge. So I will not be with you tomorrow, but I'll be back on Sunday to recap what one can only hope is a weekend full of vengeance and delightful winning. So let's see what they bounce back with. And until then, go Yanks.